We're going to dismiss the MAPS kids at this point, and so if you would go with Miss Marlena and Mrs. McFeeters, and the Ransom kids are going to join you. We'll give you an opportunity after the service to congratulate DJ and Ellie and to congratulate them on taking a great step of faith and being willing to stand in front of others and testify to their new life in Christ and their decision to live for Him. Please congratulate them, and please pray for them, and please encourage them, as you know what it's like once you make a decision. Satan, his foes, the world, the flesh, all rise up, right, against that decision. Dan and Elizabeth Ransom are involved in pulling together, helping believers come together in a church and desiring to help them grow, to see that dynamic of new life multiply. And they're going to come, or at least Dan's going to come at this time and share how God is working. I trust that you'll listen attentively.
Good evening. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I know, at least my understanding, you don't usually meet on a Sunday evening, so I appreciate you making time and coming out for this special service. And we've got about half an hour, and this is going to kind of be mission impossible because it's been about 5 years since we were last here. So I've got 5 years of material to give in about 30 minutes and leave time for questions. We're gonna go, probably move a little bit fast. Here's a picture of our prayer card. Yes.
I told you, we've got ice cream after. Don't sit long.
Okay. Well, here's everything that happened on the first day. No, I'm just kidding. We won't go that slow, but I appreciate that, Pastor. So you're seeing a picture of our prayer card. I set those out before. You can grab it afterwards. Make sure you want to get one of our new prayer cards. And we, as a family, are church planting missionaries in central Italy. We work, we're sent by a church in northeastern Pennsylvania, near Avoca, Pennsylvania, not Avoca, New York. We serve with Baptist Mid-Missions out of Cleveland, Ohio, and we work alongside my in-laws, Fred and Rachel Whitman. They started the ministry that we work with in the 70s. They were over they moved to Italy in the early 70s and have been working there at church planting. And as they were working at getting a new church started, and now we are working to bring it to autonomy, along the way, the Lord allowed them first to get started with a 10-minute daily television broadcast on an Italian station in the area. So we've been on Italian local TV since the late 70s, and then in the early 80s, the Lord allowed them to start a radio station, 24-hour-a-day radio station that was on the air for almost 40 years. And I'll share with you that we've actually just recently brought that ministry to an end. But I mentioned those two ministries in particular because they are what the Lord used to get me to Italy. As I was finishing up high school here in the U.S. in northeastern Pennsylvania, I was not looking at going into ministry. I wanted to go into broadcasting and just get a regular job and be a normal person. I didn't want to go into ministry, so the church that we were a part of supported my wife's parents as missionaries in central Italy, and we were familiar with the broadcast ministry. So my parents thought it'd be a good idea if I spent some time at an actual radio station before I went off to college and spent all their money on my idea of going into broadcasting. So my dad called my wife's dad and explained our situation and what I was interested in going into. And in that phone call, they actually arranged our marriage. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't arrange our marriage. But we did line up this, I guess they call it now a gap year between high school and college. And I went over to Italy on this gap year. And I'm not a great classroom student. So I wasn't in a hurry to go back to the U.S. for college. So I was able to make one gap year last for 6 years. And over the course of that time, not only did I meet my wife and we developed friendship and got started talking about a future possibly together, but I fit in pretty well in Italy, in the central Italy, and with the ministry that was going on. So the Lord just over time, it's kind of a slippery slope in a positive way. I told you I didn't want to go into the ministry, but when I got to Italy and started serving in those first few months, that first year, I said, well, if I can work in a radio station and be in a room with all this cool equipment and still call that ministry, well, maybe we could do that. But I don't want to be a missionary. I don't want to have to raise support. And just a very short version of a long story, I'm pleased to tell you today I'm doing everything I said I would never do, didn't want to do. And I say that obviously jokingly. It's for me, it's just very neat and encouraging to see how the Lord has worked in my heart and mind over the years and still is in changing my passions, and I still enjoy broadcast and radio, but I've just developed a stronger passion for God's Word, for people, for shepherding, for teaching and preaching and studying. So that's just a very, very short version of how we got to the field. My wife obviously grew up there. We met there, came back to the States for Bible college, got married, spent some years in Bible school, and then raising support, and we've been on the field since 2010. And as I said, the last time I think we were here, I believe it was in 2014, so we have some ground to cover. And the first thing you'll notice is, well, there are at least 2 kids that are less than 5 years old in the picture. So we have added 2 kids since the last time we were here. That should be the last time we do that. Anyways. So if you've been at Avoca for a while, you know our oldest is Christina. She's 11 and a half. And then Elisa. Actually, I have a better family picture here. Oops, there we go. Elisa is 9. And then Mark, our son, is 6. And then we have the younger 2 girls, Sara and Anna. I won't go into great detail, but one growing experience that the Lord has entrusted to us that we didn't really anticipate, and this is more concerning the family than the ministry itself. About just under 2 years ago, we discovered that one of our daughters was intolerant to gluten. So we took gluten out of her diet, but out of the family's diet, just for when we eat at home, just a lot easier to just make one meal instead of 2 meals. And as we did that, we realized that another one of our daughters had serious issues with gluten, and my wife, we come to find out, she does as well. So that was our first step, and then we more recently have discovered another segment of the family, and there's some overlap, but has intolerance to lactose, and then our youngest to actual dairy products, any dairy products. So that's made life interesting, and again, it's a trial that the Lord. It's a growing experience. I hesitate. I guess it is a trial. That my wife has just done a good job at helping our family work through, and most of that is obviously on her. And then coming back to the States and traveling. We're here for 3 months this summer, and that's been difficult. But again, an opportunity to grow. So if you struggle with food intolerances, be encouraged. If you don't, tonight go ahead and try the lactose-free ice cream and have a little bit of a taste of our world. There should be lactose-free ice cream, right? If not, I'm closing right now and leaving. So, yeah, I'm actually you can look at our family picture. I'm the most normal one in this family. If that does not scare you. So far I can eat everything and anything. But that's a little bit of the family. God is good. Want to give you just some brief snapshots of what's been going on in the ministry. And again, I can't share blow-by-blow account of 5 years of time. I'm going to try and give you some of the strategic events, strategic steps that we've taken in moving our church to autonomy, to independence, where it's no longer dependent on missionaries. Right now it has 3 pastors. I'll be sharing with you in a couple minutes that my father-in-law, the founding pastor of the church, next year in 2020, he'll be retiring, so we'll be going from 3 down to 2 missionary pastors. Our goal is to get the church to autonomy, and let me just share with you some of the steps that we've taken in that direction since we were last here. And probably the most strategic step, if not one of the most strategic steps, happened in February of 2015. We elected the first deacons in the life of this church. And that was an exciting moment, obviously very important in moving towards autonomy, moving to a point of independence as a church. We reviewed the biblical qualifications for deacons with the church family and then had them nominate men that they felt met those qualifications. We had 3 men that were nominated, and I believe they were all elected, voted in unanimously. So that was in February 2015. And then just about 2 years later, one of those men, and this is kind of the sad note that goes along with this note of celebration, one of those original 3 deacons resigned, and as he shared with the pastors his resignation, we could tell that he wasn't doing very well, and we tried to help both as a group of pastors and then even individually, and the more we kind of pursued him, the more he pushed us back. And the very short version of the story is in the end of that year, 2017, he publicly denied the faith, denied Christ, and left the church, left really Christianity. So we pray for him, praying the Lord would save him. To replace him, we had the church again nominate other men, and you see the man in the picture. You see a picture behind me, right? Yeah, I don't want to do this whole thing and you not see anything. Okay. The man that we are praying over, on the far right is my father-in-law. I'm the one in the white shirt, and then my brother-in-law is on the far left, and we're praying right as this brother, a very dear brother of mine, was selected and elected as the new deacon to replace the one that had left. I show you this. This is a huge step in moving a church towards autonomy, towards independence. But in particular, this brother that I have the privilege of working alongside, just a very tender heart. I see in him a shepherd's heart. I would not be surprised to see him one day pastoring a church. He's got a lot of growing and learning to do, but just I see in him a shepherd's heart, and so he's just he's an encouragement to work alongside. His name is Claudiu. He's actually Romanian, and he grew up I'd say for most of his life, a good part of his life, in the country of Italy. So he's a Romanian that's grown up in Italy. Vacation Bible School. Vacation Bible School, it's a strategic step because as we started this in 2013, but really got rolling in 2015. Strategic because we have seen just the church body just come together, or at least part of the church body, but a good amount of the church body come together to serve as a team. And this is our staff picture from this year. It looks a little funny because we converted it from short to widescreen, but that was my fault, so just ignore it. We have about 40 people that come together and serve for Vacation Bible School. And that's exciting. Obviously, as missionaries, when you go, and my father-in-law has lots of stories of going and starting a new work, and at the beginning, you're just doing everything. You know, you're just everything, unlocking the door, just from A to Z, you're doing everything. And I've heard him comment just at the joy of being able to see the fruit of their labors as the church has grown and gotten to this point. And again, we're working to bring it to autonomy. We've been able to entrust the leadership of this ministry to one of our church members, and she's doing a fantastic job with it. Another encouraging aspect of Vacation Bible School is this last year, and the numbers were about the same from previous years, but we have about 55 children each day in attendance, and only 9 of those children are from families that are already part of the church. So we have about 45, 46 children from the community. And what we do is throughout the week, we invite them back on Sunday. So they come, not all of them come, but on Sunday, a fair number of them come. They bring their families, and the kids will come up and share the verses they've learned and the songs they've learned. And then they sit down, and whoever did the teaching that week, usually one of the pastors, will get up and just rehearse kind of the main points of what the kids learned, and that's an excuse to share the gospel, again with the kids and with the parents. I see several of you shaking your head yes, so I'm guessing something similar goes on here. But that's just great. It's encouraging. Step towards this is just one example of the church taking ownership for the ministry and not just a bunch of people watching missionaries work themselves to death, which missionaries can tend to want to do, but they're supposed to work themselves out of a job. Training. We've begun formal training for our men. As of last year, we became a satellite location for the Italian Theological Academy down in Sicily. I think one of you've been to Sicily, okay? So they send up a professor 4 weekends each year, and we do just intensive training. And that's been very beneficial because we have found the Italians in our area of Italy just don't like to travel a lot, even for like a conference. Hey, a weekend conference, let's go. It's far, I don't want to. There's just this tendency. I'm not making fun of them, and just that's kind of the idea. They really don't want to travel. So to be able to hold these classes right at our location, we've been able to extend the invitation to sister churches as well. But we have about 13 of our own men that are participating as students, and we are very encouraged by that. Some training on a formal level, which goes along with discipleship that we and I am involved in. I shared with you about the radio ministry that got me to Italy, and I guess I'll here's the spoiler. Just at the beginning of July, we brought that ministry to an end. It was something that I had already about a year ago, I had started stepping away from the day-to-day operation, delegating that to others, just to be able to spend time on more important things like discipleship, studying, but discipling men. In this case, you see this picture of my brother, Walter. I have the privilege of discipling him and his wife. She wanted to sit in on it as well, and he was just baptized in the month of May. But discipleship, we're called to make disciples, and our desire is to make disciples that are healthy disciples that are making other disciples. So you can't really have a conversation about local church, planting churches, unless you're talking about discipleship. So I really came to the conviction of, hey, I enjoy radio. Radio is good, it's important, but there's something much more important. So I've been able to, just over this last year, really increase the amount of discipleship that I've been doing. Just really enjoy that, those opportunities of discipling these men, and in this case, this man and his wife. Baptisms. Since we were last here, we've baptized about 20 individuals, and super excited to be here tonight on this night of you doing a baptism. And we do something very similar. We have them come up. They don't get wet before they read their testimony. We have them come on stage and read, and then we run them through. Not run. That was. I get in trouble when I speak off the cuff. We're not recording, right? I know. That was the wrong phrase to use. But it is, and part of the reason we have them come up on the platform to read their testimony, we'll have a person that either was instrumental in bringing them to the Lord or discipling them. They will come up and stand alongside them as they read their testimony. And it's just a precious time. When Walter, when he texted me and said, hey, I'd like to go over my testimony a day before and get baptized, and he came into my office. We met there. He had written out about a page and a half, and it was one of the deepest testimonies just that I've ever heard. I mean, he gets done, he's like, so what'd you think? I was like, I was blown away. I had teared up at one point. It was incredible. And he and his wife have been inviting his mom to church for a while. She lives about 2 hours away. And Walter's wife invited Walter's mom on the day he was getting baptized, just assuming that she knew he was getting baptized. Well, he hadn't told her he was getting baptized, so she comes to church just to visit, and someone says, hey, welcome, I bet you're excited your son's getting baptized, and she was like, what? But it was a very positive experience. Sometimes you never know how parents will respond when their child or when their son or daughter who was baptized as a very young baby gets baptized as an adult. But it was a positive. She responded positively, not negatively. But it was a very exciting day. But we've had about 20 baptized since we were last here. This young man got baptized in May along with Walter and 2 other people. This young man is from northeastern Pennsylvania. He's an American of Italian descent, and he came over to Italy kind of not sure what he wanted to do, and really connected. He's gone to school there. Now he's teaching English, met his future wife. They're getting married in August. But as he wanted to join the church, and as we were reviewing his testimony together, he had already come to this understanding, and I realized that he was not a true believer when he was first baptized as a young man. So I said, "Hey, you're regenerate now. You need to get baptized." And so that was neat as well. Finally, I've given a spoiler away, but so July 1st. We brought our radio ministry to a close, and as I share with you, I've come to the conviction that it wasn't the best use of my time. It's an expensive ministry. My in-laws have already, even though they'll be retiring officially in 2020 and 2021, 2 different dates, one on the Italian side, one on the U.S. side. But even as they hit retirement age, their support has started to decrease. So the funding for this ministry was starting already to disappear. So we just, as a team, we came to the conclusion that it was time to bring this to a close. And when we started to move on it, as far as seeing if anyone was interested in purchasing it from us, the Lord provided a network in Italy that was very interested in purchasing it immediately. They were going to pay cash. And so I had already left. We were here in the States, but in the space of about a week and a half, 2 weeks, everything was done. And that sounds impressive here in the U.S. Spend some time in Italian bureaucracy, and you'd be like, I do believe in miracles. I shouldn't have said that either, but this is the point of the evening where I do something smart, and I move off to the side and close my mouth, and my wife comes up and shares about her aspect of the ministry. She's taking care of our 2 youngest. Our youngest got a fever the last couple days. So my wife is holding her. But my wife, besides being a wife and mother, is her main ministries. She does a great job in ministries of discipleship, counseling women. We do some counseling together, marital and premarital counseling. As we have opportunity, we lead the youth group together. My wife also teaches English as an outreach. Italians learn English basically from day one when they start going to school. Unfortunately, unless they spend time over or out of the country, they really just learn a very heavily accented English that is hard to understand. So my wife is asked literally all the time. I've had to tell her, you need to scale this back because you're stretching yourself thin. People are asking her all the time, hey, would you teach my kid English? So she's been able to find a way to do that. It's a great outreach opportunity. So if you're looking to teach English overseas as a ministry, come to Italy, okay? And I'm not kidding. So that's just in a nutshell some things that have been happening. Obviously, we continue the day-to-day ministry stuff, but with an eye towards bringing this church body to autonomy, bringing it to a point where no longer dependent on mission funding, missionary pastors. That's what we are working towards. So what do we have coming up? Well, I've already mentioned the retirement of my coworkers, and as you think of our ministry, and I'm going to share 3 specific prayer requests in a second. One of those will just be this walking through this retirement. My father-in-law is the founding pastor of the church, so it'll be a delicate moment for the church, for my in-laws even, and we're praying that it'll be a positive experience for them and for the church. And my hope is that it will be, as we start to walk through this, that it will help the church understand, hey, missionaries are not here forever. And just, I'm already looking at when I won't be there, working towards that end in training others and seeing other men follow in the leadership of the church. And that's really the other area that we'll be focusing on as we go back to the field. And I don't have the radio station to worry about. We'll be focusing on bringing the church to autonomy. And I know the church is the people, not the building, but I said, hey, this is the best shot I have. So now you know what the outside of our church building looks like. But that's what we'll be focusing on is working just very focused efforts moving the church in that direction of autonomy, working to make sure financially it's autonomous, but also just the leadership, that there are men working towards that end of having men who can lead, who can teach, who can preach, and who can lead the church in the shepherding that is needed. I was going to say one other thing. Oh, one of the areas we're doing, that just popped into my mind. I had thought about before. I'm not claiming inspiration. One of the areas we're doing this, in these last few months, I've been teaching the adult Sunday school class, and we've been working on evangelism. And I know there are a few words that just scare people to death, and that can be one of them. But I found a book that really helped me in my thinking, just the idea that we're all called to be ready to give an answer of the hope that is in us, and that's 1 Peter. And working to do that, we've been working through this in our Sunday school class, working to do that, being always ready with an answer that is clear and that is accurate. So that's my encouragement as I've been having time to then preach in churches that we visit. That's my encouragement, that we need to be ready. We need to always be ready to answer every man in an answer that doesn't point people to us. You know, I talk about opportunities to talk when people notice a difference, and I jokingly say, you know, sometimes people notice a difference. They say, hey, you're different. And man, doesn't your flesh almost just want to go, oh yes, tell me. You just want to bask in that glory of, oh, finally someone's noticed what a great father I am. You know, if only my kids knew what a great father they had. If only my wife knew what a blessed woman she was. You know, there's a temptation to just bask in that. No, that's the moment we say, hey, you know, really the very honest truth is, as one of my theology profs used to say, I'm just a dirtbag sinner. You know, I'm a person that's in love with myself. I want my desires. I want to make sure my needs are met. And it's not natural for me to care for others, but let me talk to you about my Savior who saved me. He's changing me. We need to be ready with answers that are clear, that are accurate, to talk about the hope that we have, not talk about, oh yeah, let me hear it. No, we want to be talking about Christ. And so even that as we thought through the radio station, you know, it's great to have a radio station to spread the good news, but I want my church to be spreading the good news. People that are able to share the gospel in a clear and accurate way, I will take a local church body over a radio station any day of the week, and twice on Sunday, I think you say that. That's what we need to be as a local church, and that's what I want our local church. It's a biblical desire. Here are a couple ways you can get in contact with us. We have some time for questions. Before I give you 3 prayer requests and take some questions, we have a website, theransoms.it, and we're trying to make that website fun and easy to interact with. You can even find some recipes of some great Italian dishes on there. So theransoms.it, .it stands for Italy, and you can sign up for our email prayer updates there. We're also on Facebook. I don't know if you've heard of this new website. Basically, it's a way to connect with other people. It's Facebook. I'm just kidding. So you can search for us. We have a group. It's called the Ransoms in Italy. And if you're not already a part of that group, search that group and just say, hey, I'd like to join, and we'll get you all approved. And then this year, we're trying something new, and so far it seems to be working pretty well. But kind of thinking about, you know, a new technology rolls out, everybody uses it, and then it's like, hey, no one reads email anymore. You ever notice that? So we're trying out text updates. So if you have a cell phone, you can pull it out right now, if you're so inclined, and text our last name, Ransom, to the number 77222, and that will get you signed up. We're not going to overload your phone, but probably about 3 times a month, just if anything major is going on, specific prayer request happening in real time, and you'll be made aware of that. So that's Ransom, and make sure your autocorrect doesn't change it to random, because then you'll never hear from us. But Ransom, and just send that to 77222, and you should get a confirmation message right back thanking you profusely for signing up. So we'd love to stay in touch. And if you are ever coming through Italy or Europe, or for whatever reason going to Europe, and you can make it to Italy, we love it. We love it when people from supporting churches come to visit. It's one thing for you to listen to me for about 30 minutes every few years. It's another thing for you to go to Italy and just hear it, feel it, smell it, taste it. So if you can get to Italy, that would just give you, you'll eat great, but far beyond that, you'll get an understanding of Italy, you'll get to see it, you'll get to feel for the ministry. My father-in-law is organizing a tour in October. If that's something you're interested in, Christian history tour, those are great. I know it's almost kind of late for that, but just in general, if you can ever make it to Italy, please let me know. My contact info is on the prayer card. If for some reason you've thrown away the prayer card, you have to ask Pastor Bill. He has my contact information. But let us know. We would love to have you come through. So how can you pray for the ransoms before we hit any questions? First, we are praying for funds to purchase a house. In Italy, the average Italian family has 2 kids, and we have 5. So our house is a little small. And we have come to the understanding that the man that we are renting from will probably not renew our rental agreement come the next cycle, so 2021. So we've started looking. We've found a house that would fit our family needs and the ministry needs that we'd like to do in the house. Like we have our youth group over once a week. We'd like to host people, guests that are coming through. So we found a house, we've made an offer, it's been approved, and we're working on finding funding right now. Funding in the sense we had a little difficulty finding an Italian bank that will approve a loan, that will give us a loan, since we work for an American organization at the end of the day, our mission. And we've kind of run into the same thing here in the U.S. since we're purchasing overseas. We have not yet found a bank that's like, oh yeah, we'd love to give you lots of money. So if you would pray along with us, we've found a bank that it's not 100%, but should give us a loan for 80% of the purchase of the house. And when I say house, we're just talking about like 1 floor on an apartment building. This is a smaller apartment building, but the house inside it is much bigger than where we're living. So we think it'll work, and we're trusting if it's what God wants for us, that He'll bring the money in. But we would need about $40,000 along with the loan, and then about another $25,000 to do some work on the house before we move in. Again, we are fine with whatever the Lord wants to do. But come 2021, we're going to have to live somewhere. Our kids are already asking, are we going to have to sleep in the car? So they're concerned. It's still a couple years out. And I'm not saying that to manipulate you emotionally. I'm not doing that. But just pray along with us for our contentedness, but also if the Lord would want us to move in, that He would make it happen in a clear way. Secondly, just the ministry next steps that I shared with you: the retirement of my in-laws, and then the working to bring this church to autonomy. And you can rejoice with us at the sale of the radio station. That just takes a pretty big chunk off my plate. That will allow us to just focus even more on working to move the church to autonomy. The abbreviation of our church is CEB, C-E-B. So when you see C-E-B, that's what it's talking about. CEB, Centro Evangelico Battista. And then lastly, we just ask you to pray for our marriage, our parenting. Pray for the salvation of our kids. I feel it's easy sometimes you get done sharing about the ministry, and I don't want you to think that we are like this separate category of people. We are sinners that are saved by grace. We're 2 selfish people that are married to each other, that are raising 5 other selfish people that are selfish because I was selfish and now they're selfish. So pray for God's grace in our marriage and our parenting, and again, pray for our kids' salvation. That's a prayer request of ours, along with these other 2. Okay, well, I appreciate you listening. I've got about 40 minutes left, so I don't know if there are any questions. Wait, anything I wasn't super clear on you want to hear more about? Yes, sir. 18 people from